The suspense.
Well, hello there, Justin.
Whoa.
Happy Friday to
Happy
you.
Friday.
Good
We
sir.
made it, man. We made it.
Welcome. Welcome.
Episode what?
We're on 33 here. I
Okay.
do not have a ticker for this.
That's
Welcome
okay.
to
That's all right. That's why
Multifamily.
we'll call an audible and say an audible, and that's what we're just episode 33.
That's right.
We got a lot of stuff going on this week. Some news. What do you have out of the gate, Eric?
Oh, just a little something from our good old buddy Jay Parsons. I really liked this. Jay Parsons is exposed the underground network of OG multifamily, right? So if you're one of those people that likes to start conversations in groups of people at places like Apartmentalize, when you say things like, well, I remember when Charter Mac was the dominant unit holder back in my day. Well, Jay Parsons put together a little chart for you that demonstrates where you are on the list of being an OG versus a dinosaur, versus a freshie, a greenhorn.
Now they have to do that kind of that moving infographic that you've seen, where it's like how things have changed, where people meet each other, or they gotta get one of those going.
That is extremely sophisticated. Yeah, that's fun stuff. Yeah.
Yardi put out their matrix report about their emerging multifamily markets. I don't know why it says RPM Careers Week. It was RPM Careers Week 2, which is fine. But yeah, there's some stuff in the Midwest, Arizona. Also, it's a good report to check out. This is a picture of what?
It looks like a bank, but
it may have been. It was built in 1971. This is somewhere in LA. And Jameson Properties announced that they're converting it to 255 residential units. I think it's right next to a Holland Partners project. I don't know the name of that property, but they're going to put a full roof amenity on this conversion, which is kind of cool. And
that's awesome.
I kind of geek out on these conversions. I keep talking about but I slide them into hey, let's talk about this office to residential.
Fingers crossed I get an ice rink. Come on, ice rink.
Yeah. So that's good. That's good stuff. We have a guest today, though. It's not just us talking back and forth, right?
We do. Of course, I put his thing here, and now I don't know where his
it's
thing.
Below.
There we go.
Yeah,
I see where
around.
Mitch is. We're gonna bring Mitch.
Bring him on. Hey, Mitch.
Hey guys, how are you?
Happy Friday.
We're good. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Yes. Hopefully nothing crazy happened today that we are missing in the news.
I know. Well, some sleep on the job. We might be asleep on the job.
Yeah, that's right. I definitely won't be by a pool in Florida. So anyway, Mitch, excited to have you on. I scoped out something you posted on LinkedIn and said, this is an interesting conversation. But before we get to that, I kind of want to know, how did you get into multifamily? Like, did you fall into it? Did you plan it from middle school when you were building some blocks at a science fair and you're like, this multifamily thing could be something cool?
Yeah, it's great question. I would say a little bit of both. I did plan on always being in real estate. I actually got educated in real estate development, and multifamily was an area of excitement, especially where I live. I live in Arizona, and there's just nonstop construction here of everything. Obviously, it's still been one of the biggest cities for that. I in terms of actually getting into multifamily, I did fall into it on the operator side. So I worked for an operator building custom software for a number of years. That started about 12 years ago. And then a few of my colleagues and we left that side and went to became a technology vendor and started SmartRent. That was in 2017. And then from there, I've been on the vendor side building really, really amazing stuff, IoT stuff, software-based APIs, kind of everything and all of everything. And most recently, I joined Elevate OS as the chief product officer.
Awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah, and of course, SmartRent had the IPO. Was that in 21?
21. Yep.
Yeah. So tell me this much actually, you go from IPO, smart rent, and you kind of shift over a little bit, but not too much. What's been kind of the major difference for you with the move?
Yeah, it's just size and culture. When companies go public, they're large, and not that they don't move as fast as startups. I personally thrive more in the startup world, and I would say that arguably the biggest difference is the where we're at today. We're only about 30 employees. We're private. We're actually not really venture backed. It's all owned by the founder CEO. So it's a bit of a different culture in that sense of it's not your traditional VC backed. Needs to be high growth. You need to be hitting these insane metrics every year. Not that we aren't growing fast and well, we are, but just totally different culture.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I remember you all were at Blueprint and you had a nice little small space there. So it's like you say, right? I mean, culture, the ability to make decisions quickly, moving quickly, in the startup world is definitely different than being a public company for sure.
Yep.
Well, we had, you did a post about a month ago about the wild weeks that have been occurring, which is we're still feeling the ripple effects and things are still moving and shaking around, similar to aftershocks, right, of an earthquake.
Yeah.
But how
that's what caught your eye, right, Eric?
Yeah, it's ultimately
or one of the big things, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me, Mitch. You talk about M&A and prop tech. You obviously have experienced a little bit of this about going public. Dive in a little bit deeper here because you made some predictions.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, so I think three things that it kind of came together at the same time, late last year, early this year, and it's really there was some uncertainty last year. Not that there isn't uncertainty right now with all the crazy tariffs, but there's a little uncertainty in like terms of administration, and obviously one administration is probably more friendly to M&A, another administration is probably less friendly to M&A. So I think there was hesitation on deals being made or deals being announced, especially between public companies. So I think last year was probably just like a lower volume year in general because of that. I think what you're seeing now with this new administration, it's obviously more friendly to M&A. But I think what's interesting is now you've got this combined massive amount of dry powder still on the sidelines. Whether it's on the VC side, the private equity side, there's obviously a lot of public companies with tons of money in the bank. They're all kind of like gearing up to do acquisitions. So that's like the second component. And then the third component is this cohort of startups that started around that time in 2017, 2018. There's a ton of startups that got funding initially then. And if you think about that cycle, the typical initial cycle is 7 to 10 years. And so those initial batch of startups that were in the 2017, 18, 19, they're starting to hit this exit point. Like, do you raise like your D round? Do you raise an E round? Probably IPO market is tougher than it used to be. So I just think in general, when I said this, it was really ripe for a lot of M&A, and we're seeing a lot of M&A. I will say I may have to retract my statement a little bit because of these tariffs. Like, who knows what's going to happen? I think some companies might be impacted more by the tariffs. Obviously, pure software companies are probably not as impacted as others. But yeah, it's a wild west right now. So
yeah, and to your point, Mitch, I think it was such a great prediction when you did kind of put it out there. But I think because of how everything has been topsy-turvy, we don't know because anything could pivot at any time. So in 2 months, what you said could be absolutely true because we've pivoted back around, and that's kind of the way the economy we're in at the moment.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to bring your predictions up here.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to I did a little screenshot. So let's see what we got here. But how else would you adjust some of this right here? I mean, or maybe what's your prediction for 5 years from now, right? So tariffs have run their course, whatever they end up doing. What's next?
Yeah, I think that, some of this still holds true. I think in terms of which companies may be at play, in terms of who might be doing stuff, might just have altered a little bit. And I guess what I really mean by that is, if a company is impacted fairly much by these tariffs, and we just don't really know what these tariffs will look like in 6 months or 9 months, that company may not be on the table for M&A versus like it was before. So I don't know if I necessarily would like alter any of these finite numbers, but it might be the particular companies themselves might have just shifted. Again, like pure software companies, I don't think there's a ton of impact them M&A wise, especially if you're in the US, you're a software company and you're selling just to multifamily owner operators. There's really not a ton of tariffs that are impacting you themselves. So,
Sure.
Yeah.
but I still feel confident in those numbers. There are some companies ready to go IPO. There's still deals being done. You saw Redfin get scooped up a couple weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
Funnel acquired Leasehawk last week. So it's not like the tariffs are spooking everybody.
Right.
Yeah, I think anyone who's well placed, right? Anyone who's been prudent with their cash, or they've been in a place where maybe they raised a nice chunk of change, but they didn't go out and spend it right away, or try to completely blow out growth within the first 2 years. Maybe they're set up to do some acquisitions now. Like you said, I mean, the dry powder exists, but if you don't have a piece of that pie, then there's not much you can do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that the last thing I'll add to that is a lot of companies got really fit from a financial stability and efficiency perspective over the last couple of years. Everybody during the ZERP era was obviously drinking from the fire hose and drinking way too late into the night, right? And now it's finally come through after a couple of years of, okay, I'm lowering my burn rate. I'm implementing the right automation toolkits throughout my internal systems. And so you're starting to see a lot of companies that may have not looked great on paper, in 23, even in early 24, they're now finally have gotten to a good point. They may be either at profitability, they may be, could be fairly profitable now, or you really didn't see that, 2 years ago. So I think there's a lot of, a lot of companies are in a better spot now. Now, with that being said, there's also a lot of companies that are in fairly worse spots now because they didn't get that growth that they were expecting to. So we're seeing some good situations and some bad situations where companies are just struggling and need to figure out a liquidation strategy.
Yeah. Well, it was a very insightful post. It was also inspirational. You inspired us. I think we can go to the next slide and bring Mitch along with us, because Mitch, you have the honor of being on our show in April, and today is the day that we're celebrating Poetry Month. It's National Poetry Month. I didn't know if you knew it. I didn't really know it. I think I knew it maybe last April. But because your post was so great, we took it and we both made some poems based on your post. So Eric's going to read his, and I'm going to do mine. Eric, do you want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
Oh, it's fine. I'll go first.
Go for it.
So, Ode to the PropTech Prediction. There once was a startup quite keen, born sometime around 2017. Oh, I lost my window. Now 10 years have flown, and it's time to be grown. So it's mergers and exits we've seen, with VCs all eyeing the door, and buyouts we cannot ignore. PEs on a spree, grabbing tech by the tree, while the IPOs line up for more.
Okay. Well, that was good. Well, it's a little unfair because Eric gets to read a limerick, and I think, he has the personality to do that really well. All right, so here's mine. So you have to choose. All right, here we go. This is the year. This is the start of exits, of deals, of silence breaking into billion-dollar squeals, startups from 2017, now ripe, VC-backed, point solution hype turning into real exits, exiting fast. This isn't noise. No, it's movement. Yes, this is the year the M&A hits hard and changes everything.
Mm.
And scene.
I have to choose.
You do.
Oh man. I'm all okay. Content wise, they were both great. I have to go with Eric's though. I'm sorry.
It's all right. I had a feeling. Everyone loves a good limerick, especially if it's about your LinkedIn posts. So, congratulations to Eric. Thank you, Mitch, for choosing and for sharing all that insight and knowledge and taking some time on this Friday.
Absolutely. Thank you guys.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mitch.
Thanks. Take care.
All right. See you guys.
And cut him off.
Cut him off right when he says goodbye. Get out there.
I gave him the hook. So,
Eric, we know you want to go to a pool.
Thanks for the W, Mitch.
Let's slow down.
Yes.
Let's slow down. You're going to get to the pool.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited for the weekend. All right, Mitch. Thank you very much. Sorry to cut you off.
Right?
We got some more here.
Right.
Let's
do it.
What do we got? Yes. Kathleen Woods, she skipped out on rent. Yes. Yeah. So
what'd she do?
Kathleen Woods almost made it to 20 years at Rent. But instead, she is now the new director of operations at Multifamily Insiders. Here she is pictured receiving some flowers in her first week. So congratulations, and also congratulations to Multifamily Insiders. Kathleen's definitely going to be enjoying spending time there. Consequently, yeah. So speaking, and by the way, she's not related to Kathy Wood of ARK Investments.
That's probably a common name, maybe. I don't know.
Yes. So speaking of Multifamily Insiders, everyone's an expert these days, right? So we're all experts on tariffs now that we've had, at least a month or two to read up on them. So Brent posted this poll, speaking of Multifamily Insiders, which is incredible that 470 people agree that nobody agrees on tariffs.
Yeah. I mean, I think to Mitch, well, he was just talking about tariffs. I think we don't know. Like there's so much uncertainty that you can lean one way, you can lean another way. I mean, I think it's some of his insights where if like you're a US, company selling to, I think there's not going to be a huge return in terms of software, but definitely in anything development wise, like material wise, that's going to affect the industry for sure. It's just there's no way around it. Like those particular pieces, which could ripple off into some of the software pieces and affect it that way. So there's probably direct, tariff and then indirect tariff kind of affectation. So.
This is true. Well, speaking of brand new things ripping into the market here, Nurture Boss.
They've been around, but they have a new brand, right?
Yeah, they've been around. They got a new brand, a little brand refresh, a little pep in the step.
They announced it yesterday, I believe, but you should check it out. They'll probably be showing up and showing that out on some of the upcoming events and everything. Congrats to them.
Yeah, so I always like learning the why behind a brand refresh. Always nice to see it.
Some more refreshing. We got some more refreshing stuff. Rezi's going to roast and refresh. I think that's the thing. They'll roast and then refresh. Their some property websites, right?
That's right. Yeah. So they had a very interesting idea to basically look at websites for anyone who's game. They can nominate their website or maybe their competitor's website. No. But ultimately the goal is to, I believe, do some constructive criticism, little live feedback, live examples. But you can register for that event here. It starts next week. 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 full weeks. Yeah. April 29th. I love that. I love that little icon of the laptop with 404. A 404 that we don't like. We like 404 in Atlanta. This is the 404 that we don't like.
This is true.
What else?
Well-
Oh, it got switched around. So RPM Careers Week,
Oh.
which was up at the top. RPM Careers Week was this last week. So I think there was a link there. It doesn't, but if you Google RPM Careers Week, basically tonight by 11:59 p.m., all submissions for entries this week to enter these prizes are due. So there's the RPM Careers Week. Thank you for fixing it, Eric. This is how everyone knows it's live, because we mess stuff up. We don't do it on purpose, but it keeps it fresh. It is live. That's the charm, or the train wreck, or the people like to watch. I don't know.
I don't know if you're still with us after 20 minutes, I'm excited for you.
Yeah.
So.
You gotta wait. Yeah, gotta wait till the big finish. Yeah, and so the other big thing that we've seen trending for a little while, started by the folks at Zuma and a lot of Shiv talking about it, is people are getting on the road again. Companies are getting on the road again. More of this kind of client-centric, moving across the country. I think Zuma and its bus continues, its podcast along the way with Shiv, but Zuma continues interfacing with clients. They just made stops in New Orleans. They're swinging through Atlanta. They'll probably hit somewhere else. They're going to be off to AIM.
Yeah, I think they're in Atlanta right now, by the way. Still waiting on that coffee.
I think Mr. PropTech got one, but I don't think we got one. Yeah. I think I saw that.
No, but it's funny. I noticed Funnel got a Volkswagen
they did, and they're going to be doing the similar stuff. I think they started it off, or it's parked at their forum this week, which makes sense. And then after that, they're going to be taking it around to events and client meetings and all that stuff. It's what color is it, Eric? Any guesses?
I'm going to guess it's not a color you can get from the manufacturer.
Probably not.
I'm guessing there's a PMS color that their brand
100%,
team put together.
100%. And then MRI is actually having their road show. I think they're calling it Accelerate, but they don't have one vehicle. They're kind of traveling all over. So some of the people are going by car, bus, train, plane. They've been in New York. They had hosted clients in New Orleans. They just hosted an affordable housing thing here in Atlanta. They'll be back to Atlanta. They're going to Dallas. So lots of folks doing this initiative and showing up to where the clients are rather than just congregating somewhere else or doing virtual meetings. It's kind of fun to see. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And you're traveling this weekend. So, bon voyage. A lot of people are. There's different holidays happening. So if you're traveling for pleasure this weekend, or if you're getting ready to hit the road with your company, we do have another poet we'll close with. A great American poet. You might know him as Willie Nelson.
We'll end it with Willie, and if you are watching this, I'm probably at a pool right now.
Probably, and I'm not. Have a great weekend.
Well, thanks y'all for tuning in. Have a good weekend.
I just can't wait to get on the road again.
Life I love is making music with my friends, and I can't wait to get on the road again.
On the road again, going places that I've never been.
I'm seeing things that I may never see again, and I can't wait to get on the road again.